Okay, so physical education provides knowledge, skills, and confidence to be physically active, helps adolescents get the recommended 60 minutes of daily physical activity. And part of this, too, is just teaching students that, okay, so you get 60 minutes of daily physical activity. You also have to avoid a sedentary lifestyle. This is the age to start implementing healthy habits. And so if somebody is not used to being getting physical activity on a daily basis and non-sedentary lifestyle, it's really hard to break that when the obesity factor starts taking its toll. So here's the deal. It kind of used to be like, oh, they're kind of overweight, or somebody's overweight, but they're young. Like people, I can eat like this, I'm 18, blah, blah, blah. You can't eat like that forever. One day you're going to be in your 20s and your cholesterol is going to go up. But here's the deal. Obesity has gotten so bad in children that we're now seeing high cholesterol at ages 13 and up. We're seeing type 2 diabetes as young as age 8. So the reality of this is we need to be super, super aggressive with the idea of exercise and, of course, diet changes. When you exercise, you will decrease cellular inflammation and insulin resistance in the body. And that is going to allow you to keep your blood sugar lower. It's going to allow you to burn fat and keep your cholesterol low. So at least 60 minutes a day is needed. And, rigorous activity is actually important because, these kids they might, but they shouldn't have arthritis problems yet. They need to start getting used to putting their bodies to the test and getting their heart rates up. And of course, starting slow. If there's a kid who weighs 260 pounds and is 5'4", you're not going to tell them to go do sprints. But you eventually want their bodies to get in shape enough that they can ride their bike up a hill. So it's really important for people to understand how to educate for physical education and for each body type. And so I could probably see in the future that there's going to be more kinesthetic teaching and nursing. But students should have 225 minutes every week of physical education in their middle and high schools. They also need to have 60 minutes a day of physical activity outside of school. So right now they just talk about 60 a day, and that's great. But really, we need to start talking to students about when you go home, don't sit in front of the TV or the computer. You need to get outside, get some fresh air. Or at least get moving. If you're going to watch, we're talking that's about 4 to 6 hours of TV a day. They can at least get up and do jumping jacks during the commercial breaks, because that will be the best way to get kids moving so that they're less sedentary. Students should spend at least 50% of class time engaged in moderate to rigorous physical activity during gym. Not light, but moderate to vigorous. They need to sweat. They need to get their heart rate up. That's the way to make a difference in their BMI and in to prevent metabolic syndrome. And if you don't know what metabolic syndrome is, you need to know. So you need to look it up. And it is a problem that is taking over this country and why we're having so many issues with young kids and obesity. So schools can adopt enhanced physical education. In 2013, the Community Preventative Service Task Force recommended enhanced physical education. And that increases the time students spend in moderate to vigorous physical activities by improving teaching strategies through activity selection. So maybe not dodgeball, because there's going to be at least 20% of students who are like, I don't want to play dodgeball. Class organization, management, and instruction. So getting students in picking activities that everybody's going to be involved with. Encouraging teachers to supplement students' participation in sports with moderate to physical activity. So, if you're choosing basketball and there's a lot of students who don't know how to dribble a ball, what are you going to do there? So, getting back to the Presidential Youth Fitness Program, which were simple activities that everyone can do. Sit-ups and the 50-yard dash, jump roping. I could never do the chin-up, so I always failed it, which was probably the saddest moment of my life because I always beat everyone at the 50-yard dash, but I couldn't do, and I still to this day can't do a chin-up. but kind of, so if you ever do choose to work in a school, getting involved with the curriculum for physical activity. So if they're like, we're going to play Newcomb, which is a version of volleyball, well, making sure that it's active. Or if you only have 2 tennis rackets and 60 students, you are definitely not going to get 30 to 45 minutes of vigorous to moderate to vigorous activity, because you don't have enough equipment. So you might need to change, they might need to change how they do things. So maybe they need to do calisthenics or run laps. So the national initiatives out there, the First Lady's Let's Move, Active Schools, and then obviously the Presidential Youth Fitness Programs. You see a lot from the NFL with Get 60, which is get 60 minutes of physical activity a day. So providing school health services. So school-based nursing services are actually cost beneficial. A lot of school-based services were taken out of the curriculum to save money, but it didn't, because it increased medical care costs $20 million, loss of parents' productivity, so parents having to miss work, $28 million, loss of teachers' productivity, $129. So although it cost $79 million, the net benefit was $98 million. So here are some things that they found there were improvements health related. So vaccination and other preventative services. Ensuring that all the students are vaccinated properly and that families are educated. Measles, mumps, rubella, and pertussis have made a comeback because there was no school-based health services in schools to educate properly. And so then it became, families took upon themselves to take the initiative to get educated, and a lot of families stopped vaccinating their children. And pertussis can be quite deadly, especially if you're really young or you have asthma issues, and measles can be deadly. Mumps can lead to infertility. And then rubella can lead to miscarriage if exposed to those who are pregnant. So these are not vaccines that were just invented for funsies. They were actually invented to save lives and preserve health in our country. And it was the number one most successful public health thing that we've done. In every other country, people scramble for their vaccines. We're one of the only countries that are actually moving backwards when it comes to vaccine preventable illnesses. Now, when they brought back school-based health services, they found that parents became more informed about the risks and benefits to vaccines. More and more students received their very needed vaccines, and other preventative services like scoliosis testing, blood pressure screening, BMI screening, asthma screening. Most asthma people are under or undiagnosed. Asthma has the highest morbidity and mortality rates in the country, and it's with school-aged children. It's the number one cause for ER admissions in pediatric hospitals, and part of that is people don't understand that somebody has asthma because it's not this very obvious diagnoses. We actually misdiagnose people all the time. And then it also lowers emergency department and hospital admission use when you have school-based health services, because parents who don't usually have access for their children to get health care can stop taking their kids to the ED because they have school-based health. So the city of Cincinnati have school-based health centers in all of their public schools. Some of them are open to the community as well as the students and their families. And they offer full range health care, including cholesterol screening, birth control, prenatal care, OB-GYN stuff. And the emergency room is actually one of those places where a lot of people go in for STD testing, and it's really inappropriate and expensive use of the ER when that can be done in the schools. Prenatal care and birth weight has gotten better in the schools that have school-based health center, because it's really hard to get to your prenatal appointments when you have a history class. And the reality of life is that kids in high school get pregnant and they go to school. They still continue to go to school. And then alcohol consumption and legal substance abuse, especially now, there are more and more screenings for substance abuse in the schools, and we are relying on that to catch substance abuse among our adolescents.